The yeas are 53, the nays are 47, and this nomination is confirmed.
An historic vote in the U.S. Senate today, confirming Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to the United States Supreme Court. Of course, she becomes the first black woman to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court. Here was Judge Jackson watching the vote with President Joe Biden, who nominated her just 42 days ago. They watched that moment we just played you together. Bipartisan support in the end for her place on the nation's highest court from all 50 Democrats and 3 Republicans, which these days is not nothing, much more than the simple Senate majority than she needed. Judge Jackson will officially be sworn in this summer when Justice Stephen Breyer's term ends. It's a major win for the country, for the president, for representation, and for Democrats overall. She faced opposition from every Republican who sits on the Senate Judiciary Committee amid 6 weeks of polarizing and offensive attempts by some to paint her as some sort of left-wing radical soft on crime. Republicans unsuccessfully trying to discredit her impressive background and record, bringing more judicial experience to the job than any sitting justice when they were nominated. Let's bring into our coverage Danielle Hawley-Walker, Dean and Professor of Howard University Law School. Here with us at the table, it's so nice to say that, Eddie Glaude, Chair of the Department of African American Studies at Princeton University, also an MSNBC political analyst. And Joe Lockhart is here. He's former White House press secretary for President Bill Clinton. It's a pleasure to have you both. But let me start with you, Danielle, your reaction to today's confirmation.
It was just a really exciting moment. I was in our moot courtroom in a packed moot courtroom with my students. 70% of my students are Black women. There was a huge celebration as we saw the confirmation occur. I think this is an important moment for all Americans to see that the doors of opportunity are open at every level of the legal profession, and to have such an outstanding, brilliant jurist like Judge Jackson be the first Black woman on the Supreme Court, and also her background as a public defender. I think there is so much to celebrate on this historic day.
Danielle, tell me more about what your students said, because I've seen some reporting from some women that reporters have talked to saying that's fine. I'm fine to be second. But I know my career, I saw Joe's colleague Dee Dee Myers at the podium, and I thought, oh my God, I could do that. Maybe not at the White House, but I could do a job like that. It's a huge thing. Tell me more what you heard from your students.
I mean, it's a really big deal because we have to remember that only 70 Black women in the history of the United States have ever served in the federal judiciary. So this isn't just about one Supreme Court seat. It's about the idea that Black women should be serving at every level of our federal judiciary and every level in our state judiciary. And I think it really gives my students and students around the country and people, little girls around the country, the opportunity to say, even though I may never become a Supreme Court justice, I do have the opportunity to become a judge, to become a law firm partner, to become a federal public defender. All of the things that they saw in Justice Jackson's background, they now know that they can also do those things. And I agree, Nicole, it's a powerful moment. I was the first Black woman on a faculty at a public school in the South. And it meant a great deal. I wasn't the last. And I think that's what this really means today. She will be the first, but she will not be the last. And it is a very powerful moment for that reason.
And Danielle, from the sublime to the ugly, her treatment from all the Republicans, well, not all of them, but many of the Republicans on the Judiciary Committee was, in my view, a national embarrassment. What do you think about what she was subjected to get here to today?
It was just really disappointing. It was disheartening, especially when we were promised a respectful process. I think the treatment that she received by many of the Republican senators was absolutely unacceptable. We know that she was barraged with negative talking points that had nothing to do with her record. For example, when she was asked about critical race theory, and we know that that has nothing to do with the work that she's done as a judge, won't have anything to do with her work as a Supreme Court justice, but yet she was being asked those questions. So I think it was a very unfair hearing that she got in many ways, but we saw her really rise above it, even though she shouldn't have had to do that. She
Right.
had the capability to rise above it and show tremendous amounts of grace.
So, Eddie, I mean, on that point, Lindsey Graham is like the human incarnation of the button that pops on your pants, revealing the reality of your COVID weight gain. He voted for her last time, and as though we needed, you know, to out the Republicans for their purely maniacal political motives, couldn't bring himself to vote for her this time.
Right. I mean, we know the Republican Party in so many ways reveals itself over and over again to be a kind of citadel of hypocrisy. We saw that lone image of Mitt Romney clapping for Judge Brown Jackson while the Democrats celebrated, but all the others kind of walked out cynically as if something didn't happen that was in fact historic.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, though. You know, there are these moments in our political lives where there's the eruption of possibility. The eruption of possibility. That. And what do I mean by that? There are these moments which allow our political imaginations to expand. And there are these moments when something that we didn't think was possible. We had jokes about the first black president, whether it's Dave Chappelle or Richard Pryor. We thought about it, but this never crossed our mind. Just imagine what's going to happen this summer. It's going to be the first female vice president, and the first Supreme Court justice. Yeah. That's going to happen at once. And so suddenly what we think is possible expands. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but the world that's possible comes to our imaginations. So the political imagination expands for a moment. Now we then have to ask ourselves the question, now what? But just for this moment, there's the eruption of possibility.
And I don't know enough about our broken sort of pessimistic politics right now to know if this will happen. But President Joe Biden should be associated with that eruption of possibility. Do you think? I mean, this was a brilliant nomination. This was as clean of a nomination process as you can get in this badly hobbled body that debased itself in that committee with their treatment of her. But this is not something that happens without a president who makes a thoughtful pick and a White House that runs a tight confirmation process.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of inside baseball for how you run the nomination process. And you're right, this was flawless. And they're not always flawless. We certainly can remember the last or two ago, Mr. Kavanaugh, that was not flawless, and that was the fault of some of the staff who were involved. I couldn't agree more with my colleagues, and I can't add to it because I can't say it more eloquently. But what I have been struck with over the last few days, and actually the last few months, is not what's being said, it's what's not being said. No one in the Republican Party stands up to someone who calls her a pedophile or implies it. No one in the Republican Party stands up and say she's not a political terrorist. No one in the Republican Party gets up and says she's not a Nazi sympathizer. There's no floor for the offensiveness of the Republican Party, but there's also no one willing to stand up and say it's wrong.